Intro, let's go with another flow. Ain't your average entertainment show. More than entertainment than what's on the screen. Connecting dots on what you see. Have you ever wondered how it all began? The idea, how they started the plan. Execs, actors, the whole team. Mad props to those behind the scene. Why did the person get into the biz? Something inside when they were a kid. Who helped them out when they wanted to quit? What about the fam that gave them rocks to kick? How all the haters, they left shaming alone. Find out in the entertainment zone with Paul Amadeus Lane. It's a real thing. Intro, let's go with another flow. Ain't your average entertainment show. More than entertainment than what's on the screen. Connecting dots on what you see.
Hello and welcome to the Entertainment Zone. I am Paul Amadeus Lane. ABC News Radio KMET, Hollywood News Source.com. No matter how you're checking out the content, just continue to check it out, like, share, and if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share your comments below. We love to read them, to maybe answer some questions out there that you may have when it comes to entertainment. I'd like to give a huge shout out to my friends over there at Hollywood News Source. I am a contributor with Hollywood News Source. In addition to being a broadcast journalist, host, reporter for ABC News Radio. So I'm so happy to be a part of the Hollywood News Source family. As a matter of fact, one of my colleagues from Hollywood News Source is going to help me with the subject we're going to talk about during this segment of the Entertainment Zone. We're going to be talking about comic books coming to life now that we're seeing dramas out there. In particular, the CW smash hit Black Lightning. So we're going to delve into Black Lightning and talk about what we have seen so far in the series. And if you have not yet watched Black Lightning, do me a favor, pause the recording right here, binge watch up until now, and then watch the rest. I don't want to give any spoilers or anything about what's going on, but I thought my colleague Darryl and I would sit down and chat about it and what we think about the series and just some of the impressions that it has left on us, and we'd like to hear your take on it as well. Now, the one thing I really liked about Black Lightning is that it doesn't fake blackness. Now, some of you may be familiar with 70s, 80s shows, television programs, where they kind of forced blackness, and the masses thought that all black folks acted that way. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what you doing, jive turkey? Hey, blood, give me some skin. Now, I didn't grow up in the hood. I grew up in Compton. Grew up in Long Beach. We didn't talk like that. And unfortunately, people who did not live in the hood and who didn't grow up where I grew up thought that all black folks talked like that and acted like that. But no, that wasn't real life. And that's one thing I like about with Salim Akil, the executive producer of Black Lightning, along with his lovely wife, Mara Brock Akil. What they did with Black Lightning, it's real, authentic blackness. I mean, it's like you can't fake it. And that's what I like about it, because many of us, whether we're black or white, we want to be represented in the great light, no matter or the real likeness when it comes to camera, film, and television. Many of you know my story. I'm disabled. I'm confined to a wheelchair. Nothing irks me is when someone tries to portray someone disabled in the wrong light. It makes me upset. And maybe you feel that way when it comes to your race, your gender, your religion, when you see things out there that's not represented in being 100. So that's one thing I really appreciated about Black Lightning. And some of you may remember the comic book and some of the, I guess, trepidations that ones had when it came to turning this into a drama was that how are they going to do this? Black Lightning has changed. He has some family members and everything. So I hope you enjoy the conversation that I'm going to have with my colleague Darryl over at Hollywood News Source as we delve in to CW smash hit And I'm so happy to have with me right now one of my colleagues from our joint venture with Hollywood News Source, Darryl Lay from jolly old England. What's going on, my man? How are you?
I'm fine. It's great to be here.
Hey, great to have you with us, my friend, and talk about entertainment, comic books, the different things that we're seeing now on television. And, you know, I really wanted to get your take on Black Lightning and the series and everything. You know, being a senior editor over at Hollywood News Source, when you first heard about the series, what were some of the things that went through your mind?
First off, I would say it was a bold move by the CW. I think they're probably not immune from the fact that there is a lack of color on their schedule that they're starting to deal with and change for the better. In terms of Black Lightning as a character, I wasn't really aware of him. I think like when the initial flood of articles came out, I think he might have appeared in one or two Justice League episodes, but I'm not too sure. I thought it was interesting when I got the premise, the fact that it will be a talk about his children and the fact that they will inherit powers from him. That instantly got me interested, and I always knew I was going to watch it. I always knew it's going to be one of the go-to shows I'd be checking out.
And you know what's interesting, Darryl, I was hanging out with Sinbad, the comedian, and we were talking about, you know, Black Lightning, and Sinbad was like, wait a minute, you know, Black Lightning got kids, he's married, what? When I read the comics and everything, he was just, you know, this guy doing all these things. And I think for the comic book purists out there, they were wondering, how is this going to fit now, married kids? And I knew when the Achilles, Celine, and his lovely wife Mara, when they got this series and they were going to be the writers and the executive producers of this, I knew it was going to be top notch. You know, because let's face it, writers and producers can make or break a series. Because you think back to when ones tried to make superhero series back in the day and everything, how they didn't have a lot of longevity because of the writing style. It was kind of corny and all these other things. But I'm starting to see a lot better writing now when it comes to these series, and CW, man, they're hitting it out the park. Yeah,
I think CW have shown in the early series adaptations of their superhero things, they know how to write it. They know how to get people involved, get the fans on board. It could be argued that perhaps once you move past those first like 2 seasons, problems arise. But I think that's a problem with every television show that that is envisioned as like a 5 or more season run. How to keep things fresh, how not to alienate the existing fans, and obviously keep an eye on the ratings.
You know what? You bring up a very good point about keeping the fans engaged, especially when it comes to African American fans here in the United States. And I'm not sure what's been the feedback over in London where you're at, when ones try to tackle something that's, let's say, a black show, you know, quote unquote black show. If it's not authentic, if it doesn't have the authenticity, then it kind of loses its target audience, because it kind of gives like a false narrative of what blackness is really like. And that's one thing I like about Black Lightning. That's blackness. You know, I grew up in neighborhoods like that. You know, I had friends like some of the main characters, like there's always been a Tobias in the hood. There's always been a Jefferson Pierce in the hood. There's always been a Lynn Pierce who was, you know, a person who became, you know, really successful, and their children and everything. So I've seen that growing up in the hood. And being over in London, what's been kind of like the feedback from let's say our brothers and sisters over there?
I think a lot of people will see the similarities within their own family structures here in the UK. Obviously, with a wide cross-section of families who trace back to the Caribbean and families who've come here from Africa, they see those. They see that strong family unit. They see sort of Jefferson style of do what I say, not necessarily what I do. And they see that community, which is, I think there's lots of Black communities here in the UK, around the country, obviously not moving outside London and stuff. So I think we will look at it and see it as authentic. And it's just so entertaining to see that it's more than just, it could have been just another superhero show, but it goes that much farther than that. It's not a superhero show. It's a more realistic take on what having superpowers and what having a calling to be a protector of your community and how that affects your family, which you see across the 2 seasons once Jefferson puts back on the suit.
And that's one thing that you really notice when it comes to the series now, when we can trace it back to when the CW decided to tackle Smallville, and how that was kind of like a different adaptation of a superhero show. You had the family dynamic, you had the high school dynamic, and growing up, I remember when I would watch superhero shows, it kind of missed things like that. It didn't draw the lines or connect the dots when it came to real life, that we can say, oh yeah, I know I don't have superpowers, but I'm going to try to jump off this cliff. But now we see the series now. You start to see the humanity side of all these characters and everything, like with Thunder and with and even like with Painkiller Khalil. You see the struggle. I know a lot of cats who started off being great athletes in school, but then something turned, and then they had to start to be on the streets and everything. So when I saw things like that in the writing style, man, it just like really brought home just the realness of the series.
I think it definitely. Especially we'll take Khalil. On both sides of the ocean, we do have, especially young men of color. Over here, it's about becoming a footballer, getting that multi-million contract and those like boots endorsements. I guess over there, it'd be American football, it'd be basketball. But you see that what happens when you don't have a plan B or when things change, because we see this. It's something that we talk about. We examine news and stuff about the amount of young professionals. It's almost like a factory that we have here. We have all these football training schools where kids will go to school while learning football. And we know that for all the classes and classes of kids, only maybe 1 out of those 50 are going to make it at any level of professional football. And most levels of professional football aren't going to pay the bills for your lifetime. You might have a job for 10 or maybe 15 years if you're lucky, but that money isn't going to last you when your knees are broke and you're walking with a cane and you got to provide for family all that time after the age of 35. So I think seeing Khalil and seeing basically his pretty much perfect life fall apart. He had the girl, he had that his running career, his girlfriend shared his passion, was also a runner, and they were the ruling two of Garfield. And then it looks like that everything was gone in an instant. And as we see, it takes him quite some time to get over that, and we see how much damage he does to those people around him because of that, because of losing his dream.
Yeah, that's so true. And you look at the dynamic with him and Jen. Just the relationship that that they have, and that's like a real relationship, because he had a girl who's down with him, right? But then when he started tripping, she was like, all right, you got to bounce, you got to get up out of here. We can't hang like that. But then when he started to turn that corner and try to do the right thing, try to get out of the life, his girl was right there. She was a ride or die. And that's real, because let's say if they wrote the script in the sense that she just turned her back on Khalil, and when he was trying to turn his life around, that's not real. You know, it's real. A girl gonna be down for you. She's gonna be down with you. If you're gonna try to better yourself, she's gonna be there. But if you trip again, she'll get rid of you. And that's kind of like what we're maybe seeing, that dynamic now. You know, maybe if he gonna, you know, try to buck his chest out. But then what I like about too in the previous episode, when Jim was like, "Don't forget, I'll light your butt up." So, you know, that's, you know, that's real love in the hood, man. You know what I mean?
You made a mistake. I'm gonna let it drop this time, but next I'm gonna knock into next Tuesday.
Yeah,
just check yourself. Which is, it was a strange thing for him to suddenly go off at that. At the time, I was assuming that maybe it has something to do with the use of his powers, the use of his gauntlets, and that maybe sort of messing with his equilibrium, because he just snapped like nothing. Whereas, and I understand it was a stressful situation, but they were on the run for quite some time at that point. So it seemed a strange time for him to suddenly just snap like that.
Yeah, that's so true. So we're looking at the first season, and now to the second season, where we're talking about right now. What is the biggest change that you have seen in the storyline, writing style, and the maturation of different characters? What has stood out to you the most?
I think it's the family dynamics. The first season pretty much painted them as almost perfect. And now we see the strain of having that life and the real conflicts that come. We see the estrangement of Thunder almost seemingly moving out, though at the end of the episode, it seemed like she had left. So we're seeing this to sort of move her after Jefferson does that, not in my house. Obviously, we see all the problems that Jennifer goes through, their decision to unilaterally take her out of school, the conflicts between the two parents, after I guess at this point tried to give it another go. So I think that's the family stuff is what it's stepped up to that next level. I think the other things are going at a sort of normal clip, but we see how different the family is now. I like it because it's definitely realistic, because it's a big change for Jefferson to sort of come out to his family and for him to keep on doing the Black Lightning thing in his full-time role, along with his fall from grace, losing the school.
Yeah.
Which always had a big effect on his confidence. And it was, I think the school is probably a bigger part of Jefferson now than Black Lightning is. Because you see how, I mean, he likes being Black Lightning, but he loves being the principal of that school. He loves knowing that he can affect the younger generation and take them to a better place.
Yeah, and that's true. And I know in this season right here, when he lost the school as the principal and was just a teacher, I remember when the guys got into a scuffle in the hallway, and you can see he was like, "No, we got to handle." But here comes the new principal, and he comes in and messes up everything. And that really shows the dynamic out there when it comes to inner city schools. And that is, you know, you can be strict and a disciplinarian, but you have to do it with love. And that's what it seems like his character always did it with love. He was strict, didn't play around, but he did it with love. And I really love that dynamic out there, because they say life I forget what it says. I can't think right now, but life imitates art. That's what it is. Arts imitate life. Well, something like that. But you know what I mean, right, Darryl? But you know, when it comes to that, you know, you can really see how that's kind of like real talk. One thing that really stood out in my mind this season was the living single connection. Now, follow me here. Now, you might remember that old sitcom.
I remember the show. Yeah, I remember the show.
Yeah, you know, Crest was on there. Crest was with Scooter. But then Tobias's father was Kyle, T.C. Carson.
Oh, okay.
But now, this season we have Max, who is the one helping Jennifer out with her powers. So I'm kind of digging how we have the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon when it comes to certain things. We're starting the 6 degrees of living single right now. So I wonder if we're going to see some Queen Latifah, or maybe some Kim Fields, or maybe some other people who are in living single. But I'm kind of digging that.
Who knows?
Definitely. But and one thing I like, you mentioned about the the cast and everything, there's a castmate from England, Lynn Pierce, and her name is Christine Adams. Now, talk about just having somebody represented from your side of the pond on the show.
To be honest, it's something that we've gotten used to. I mean, it's hard to show up any sort of major international show and not have a British voice in there doing a remarkable accent. You can look at Daredevil with Officer, with Agent, was it Need? I can't remember what his name is. But he played a huge role in the last series, Daredevil. You go over to Arrow, and you could have Detective Lance, who's now left the show, another Brit, and so many British actors and actresses going over to LA and or Canada and doing work.
That's cool. And I'm a big gamer too, so when I saw the guy who played Detective Lance in Battlefront 2, man, I was like, this is pretty sweet right there. So yeah, I feel you on that, my friend. Definitely feel you. Hey, so before we wrap up our talk about Black Lightning, what kind of advice would you give ones out there who are kind of on the fence about watching this series? They haven't given it a chance yet. What would be your expertise and your expert criticism as far as them watching the show?
I think at the moment, the show is doing most things right. It's not no action. It's not Arrow. It's not 16 people getting killed in an episode. So it's a show with superhero elements, but it's a drama. So it's about the family and the effect of having someone returning to the superhero business after being out. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, well then jump in there. I don't think you'll be disappointed. But if you're just here for the action, this won't be the show for you, because there's a lot of dramatic elements, and it's a lot about telling a story, and it's a lot about the family dynamics and how Jefferson interacts with his close friends and confidants as well.
Absolutely. Well said, my friend. So I know you and I will be catching up more, talking about Black Lightning and everything, and other shows on the CW. And so I'm interested to see what's going to be the Tobias Wells end game, because there's always an end game with the villain. So I'm wondering if he is going to continue to be his nemesis, someone new, because we thought Lala was the nemesis at first, until Lala got 86'd by Tobias. So someone tell me that the Achilles got something up their sleeve when it comes to villains and everything. But I'm kind of looking forward to that dynamic. Once again, a huge shout out to my colleague over at Hollywood News Source, Darryl Lay, for joining me, giving us his take on Black Lightning. And I hope you liked my little 6 degrees of separation when it came to the cast of Living Single. And one thing you're going to realize about the show, you're going to see some cameos by some actors and entertainers you haven't seen in a while, and it's refreshing that the Achilles are giving some work out there to some folks who really deserve it, some great actors, and my hat goes off to them and the team over at CW for giving us this great series as Black Lightning. If you want to find out more information about some great news when it comes to entertainment, go to HollywoodNewsSource.com. You can check out Darryl's writing. You can check out Miranda. Miranda's my sweetheart. You can check out some of her writings as well too. So definitely. So enjoy all the content, Hollywood News Source. And until next time, thank you so much for tuning in to the Entertainment Zone. I am Paul Amadeus Lane. Until next time, I'm going to talk about some more great things happening in the entertainment field. So make sure you like, share, comment on all the episodes. We want to hear your take as well too. Take care, folks. Love you all.